بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Criterion for Action, Mizan al-Amal. And the very last part that we have read was about the closeness or getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, including the Hadith Qudsi, which we had two traditions that were narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. One of them is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descending to the lower heaven, if you will, to Sama Dunya, to the sky. That's during the last 1/3 of the night, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would ask about whether there's anyone who would ask, supplicate, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would respond positively. Anyone who would ask for God's mercy. And the second one, of course, if you get close, this hadith could see whatever measure you get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get closer to you. So a hand length would be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would get closer to you, an arm's length. And if you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, walking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hasten to your side. All of this, of course, should be interpreted allegorically, as we said, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ. For the more than one thing to descend is to leave from one point A to a point B, and this, subhanAllah, this is not space and time do not apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ. That's one thing. The last 1/3 of the night is a phenomenon that never ends as long as the earth has this movement around its own axle, creating the night and the day. So these things have to be interpreted allegorically, but the thing is about how do you get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's about you. It's not about Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has opened the door, has shown you the path. Now it's up to you. How the faculties of the soul are linked to one another. بيان كيفية ارتباط قوى النفس بعضها ببعض. Know that these faculties have different levels or differing levels. Some of them are required in their own right, while others are required for the sake of others. Some of them serve, while others are served. The absolute chief among them is the one that is required in its own right and has others that are required for it. That is none other than the ultimate level, the last level, the highest level, wherein range the levels of the saints and the prophets. In fact, man was created for naught else but his specific property, and the animals share in all his faculties except for that which is specific to the human soul. And at the very beginning of Ihya Ulumuddin, in the book on knowledge, Kitab al-Ilm, Imam Al-Ghazali says you have not been created to you are not a human being because of your size. The elephant is greater than you. Not to eat because a buffalo or basically a bull um, eats more than you, which is true. You have not been created to have intimate relationship because a bird is more capable uh, than you. Um, so Imam Ghazali compares the human being to the animals, and in all the examples that he lists, the animals are doing more. In fact, if we add that, Imam Ghazali did not say this, if we add, it's not because you are capable of running, because a cheetah is faster than you, it's faster than everything else, of course, on Earth, because in the sky there are those who are faster. Then Imam Ghazali says about the function, the role, the telos, the aim, or the reason, the raison d'être. He said, we have not been created except to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how we are distinguished from the animals. So here Imam Ghazali says that, of course, we have things that are common between us and animals, but we are not animals. And this is why I have found it problematic. And when we talk about the definition or the root, the definition or the root of the etymology of the word insan in Arabic, almost everybody says insan is from an-nisyan. Insan is from the root, like it partakes in the notion of forgetfulness. That's really not the etymology of the word insan. And Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, on his way back from Madian, he says to his family, "Inni anastu nara." Anisa, okay. He you will never have uns with fire, because hellfire, for example, waliyadu billah, you will not have uns with that. But Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, something from this story, of course, it is assumed, and that's where the word anastu. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam found uns in his heart, in the notion, in the assumption, which is fairly reasonable within that context. It's night, he saw fire at a distance. It's reasonable to assume that there are human beings who basically are surrounding, they put that fire, they ignited that fire, and they are sitting, and he found comfort in them to the degree that he said that either he will find guidance as to where he should head, or basically he will also bring a log, some fire for his family to get warm. Obviously, it was a cold night, but of course, when he got closer, Allah, this is the burning bush story, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to him. But that's really anas. That's uns. Anasa ya'nasu bil insan. So when the human being fulfills that role, providing comfort, uns, that kind of spiritual intimacy, that kind of psychological support, that kind to other human beings, to fellow human beings, then he or she is insan. Once they do the opposite, you see a military checkpoint and you don't feel comfortable. You don't find uns, though they are human being, but they have lost that uns dimension, that insan dimension, because of the injustice that they inflict on others. So the notion of khilafa would include this kind of uns. So this is really something that could distinguish the, in addition to what Imam Al-Ghazali says. So it's not really about forgetfulness, it's not about nisyan, because really, even the word is, in itself is obvious. Anasa anasu, insan, nasya, nisyan. Okay. Man was created upon level between the beast and the angel, and is endowed with several faculties and qualities. Inasmuch as he takes nutrition and reproduces, he is a plant. Inasmuch as he senses and moves, he is an animal. Inasmuch as he possesses form and stance, he is like an image engraved on a wall. Form and stance, qama. What shall we say? Physiognomy? The specific property for which he was created is the faculty of the intellect and the perception of the realities of things. The one who employs all of his faculties in the pursuit of knowledge and action resembles the angels. And so it is only right that he should be connected to them. And fitting that he be called a lordly angel. Thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is none other than a noble angel. In هذا إلا ملك كريم. Of course, this is from the Quran. This is these are the ladies along with the who were in the company of the wife of Al-Aziz, who wanted to tempt Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. So, angelic behavior. As for the one who directs his aspirations towards the pursuit of corporeal pleasures, eating just as cattle do, he has descended to the plane of the beasts, and inevitably will become petulant like a bull, or rapacious like a pig, or savage like a dog, or spiteful like a camel, or proud like a tiger, or devious like a snake, or all of them at once like a rebellious demon. In sum, anyone who reflects on the faculties we have mentioned will recognize that the dictates of the intellect are the loftiest and most sublime of them, and will marvel at how they serve one another necessarily by their very purpose, and how they cannot disobey what Allah has commanded them. The intellect is the chief among them. Whom the others serve, it is served primarily by its vizier, the closest of all things to it, which is the practical intellect that we referred to earlier as the active faculty, according to dictates of the intellect. The purpose of the practical intellect is to direct the body. The body is the instrument and seat of the soul, which employs the body by means of the senses to pursue the principles of knowledge from which it can deduce the realities of things. The active intellect is in turn served by the faculty of estimation, which itself is served by two faculties, one after it and the other before it. The faculty that is after it is The retentive faculty, which restrains what is perceives and transmits to it. The faculty that is before it is the sum of the collective animal faculties in the order we shall describe presently. One of them is the imaginal, by which I mean the um, cogitative. It is served by two faculties with different function, with different functions. The faculty of desire and yearning serves it with instigation, for it instigates action through imagination and thought. The faculty that it retains forms in the common sense serves it by receiving the compositions and differentiations of the images it contains. The two faculties are themselves the two faculties are themselves the chiefs of two groups. The faculty of form retention is served by the common sense, which uplifts the forms to it so that it may retain them. The faculty of desire is served by appetite and irascibility, which in turn are served by the faculty that moves the body. This is where the animal faculties end. The animal faculties are served in their entirety by the vegetable faculties, which are three: reproduction, growth, and nutrition. The chief of them is reproduction, which is served by growth, which is served by nutrition. These faculties in turn are served by four: attraction, retention, digestion, and excretion or excretion. These faculties in turn are served by four: attraction, retention, digestion, and excretion. For the plant must have faculties to attract nutrition to itself, then to retain it, then to digest what it has retained, then to excrete what is done with. Excretion is the faculty that serves but is not served. It is like the role of waste management in a municipality. It's of course, I mean, it's very accurate. It's very accurate in terms of the uh, uh, reflecting the essence of what is mentioned in Arabic. But if you would like uh, a word per word, وكأنها الكناس. Okay, waste management sweeper. Okay, sweeper. Okay. Then the faculties of digestion, attraction. In fact, if you talk about a city of old, one can compare the city, to the human being. A medieval castle, a medieval city that is always surrounded by a wall, closed in the evening. They open the gates in the morning. The wall is like the skin of the human being. It has different. The tower is like the eyes. Uh, and the city would have ultimately, a gate that serves the, lowly services. This is like when you think about Jerusalem, think about the gates of the city. One is Lion's Gate. You talk about victors. You talk about heroes. You talk about army generals. You talk, or uh, Damascus Gate, Jaffa Gate, which is in Arabic, is Hebron Gate, Bab al Khalil. The Prophet David Gate, because it's close to where he's buried. Wallah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'lam wa a'lam. Then you have Herod's Gate in the south of the city. Okay, it's Dung Gate. Just think about this. Even a city would have this similarity. Imam Ghazali continues by saying, then the faculties of digestion, attraction, retention, and excretion are served by the phenomena of heat, coolness, moisture, and dryness. This is the final degree of faculties in bodies. Of course, as we said early, and before this, this is really the narrative that existed at the time. You talk about, heat and coolness, moisture and dryness. Today we might speak about enzymes, for example, just to give an example, to help the masses comprehend the aforementioned faculties. An illustrative example has been suggested. Thus, it is said that the cogitative faculty in the center of the brain is like the king. Who resides in the center of the kingdom. The imaginative faculty at the front of the brain is like the king's postmaster, for that is where information is collected. The memory at the back of the brain is like his servant. The faculties of speech are like his interpreters. Subhanallah. Just simply, I'm sure that you know that females speak earlier than males. So we talk about twins. If you talk about a lady giving birth to two twins, one of them is a boy and one of them is a girl. On average, the girl would be eloquent, would express herself earlier than the boy. So the area of language is it's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they it's how strange when especially men, when they speak about this issue and they talk about how talkative women are, or it's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the way it is. They need, just lend them an ear, and actively listen to them, especially when they are at home for whatever reason, which is not bad. It's certainly a beautiful thing to be a homemaker, Say that you go to your work 8, 9, 10 hours, whatever. She's at home and you did talk to your colleagues, you did brainstorming with other colleagues, you did teamwork, you had colleagues, you greeted them, you talked about during lunch and over coffee breaks, and you talked about politics, you talked about the weather, sports, whatever. So you go home and you are tired, but she's looking forward to that moment. She wants to express herself, she wants to talk, she wants it's a way to communicate. So again, it's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the faculty of speech are like his interpreters, the active faculty is like his scribe, the senses are like his spies, and intelligentsia who provide him with trustworthy information, each one reporting from the region to which he is assigned. The eyesight is assigned to the realm of colors, the hearing to the realm of sounds, and so on. They relate all this information to the postmaster, who omits whatever he deems to be useless and conveys the rest directly to the king. A beautiful statement, because definitely we don't retain all these billions, trillions of piece of information, and we omit all the time. The king surveys it and determines its benefits and harms, and then, when necessary, conveys it to his servant, who sets about discharging it, just as the actions the king undertakes himself are more important than those he assigns to others. So too the actions undertaken by the soul, which is the true king, through the mediation of the intellect, are too important to be delegated to servants. These actions are thought, reflection, and analogy, foresight, and the deduction of the unknown. This example is similar to what was related from Ka'b al-Ahbar, who said, I once visited Aisha, radiallahu anha, and she said, this is not a hadith, though it's attributed to the Prophet ﷺ, towards the end. It's not, it has been included in al-Mawdu'at, the forged traditions. A man's eyes are a guide, his ears are a funnel. In one version seems two funnels. His tongue an interpreter, the hands are wings, his feet are couriers, his heart a king. If the king is well, so are his forces. Then she said, so I heard from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it's not a hadith really. Imam Ghazali adopts this notion when he speaks about how the heart really issues the order and the limbs would oblige. Okay, they don't have there's no decision making mechanism in the hands or the tongue, or it's the heart, as Imam Ghazali says, but it's not a hadith. These are but some of the states of the soul, of which we have sketched for you a brief outline. They are some of the wonders of the soul. If you were to attend a dissection of the body and examine the many capillaries, nerves, bones, arteries, and veins, and then the corporeal instruments with which the soul is endowed, and how food is attracted, digested, and excreted, and all the instruments created for reproduction. If you were to behold these marvels that serve one another out of necessity. And then after this dissection, you were to consider details of the faculties of that body until you attain knowledge of the realities of the natural sciences. You would be as impressed as can be by their wonders. In the earth are signs for those who are certain, and in your souls will you not then see. وفي الأرض آيات للموقنين وفي أنفسكم أفلا تبصرون. Then Imam Al-Ghazali includes a verse of poetry. True in all things there is a proof that Allah is one. A person who does not believe in Allah at all cannot be numbered among the intelligent, and it would be useless to even dignify him with this discourse. That verse of poetry is translated here as prose, as a narrative. And the verse that has just been that we have just recited, read in the English translation, recited the Arabic, Imam Ghazali does include a warning about those who do not heed, those who disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فتعسا لمن كفر بالله وغفل عن قوله تعالى. And then he would mention the verse. I think we suffice it for this session, and let's get back to this verse from the Quran and this verse of poetry, inshallah, tomorrow. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.